It is Sunday, and that means it's time to talk politics. Welcome to Politics Unplugged. Ann Trujillo was off this week. I am Tony Kovaleski. As a voter here in Colorado, soon you will get the opportunity to decide the fate of a $1.6 billion spending bill for our schools in this great state. Petition signatures for what will be known as Amendment 73 were certified this past week, putting the issue on November's ballot. Where's money coming from, you might be asking? The extra funding would be paid for by raising income taxes on corporations and Colorado residents making more than $150,000 each year. This proposal, controversial on two levels. First, the increased taxes only will be paid for by some of Colorado's taxpayers that are the most highly compensated, people with the biggest paychecks. Second, money would be given to schools to spend as they see fit, no strings attached. That means it would not be earmarked for things like capital construction, building, or improving school facilities, or other specifics like books, teacher pay, or computers like we've seen in previous tax initiatives. Well, joining us today to discuss these issues, we welcome Amy Baccalaureate. She is the president of the Colorado Education Association. Now, Amy, a lot of money taxing people that are making more and not creating those strings. What's your read on this? Obviously, more money for schools is always something that people say, hey, let's do it.
Yes, you know, this is something that we really need here in Colorado. We've been underfunding our schools for so long, and we see the impacts of that daily in the classrooms and the work sites and how students are impacted by that. This past year alone, we underfunded our schools by $828 million. So that means supports and resources go away from students and students who need it the most. So we're very excited about this amendment that's on the ballot. In April, when we had all the teachers come together for the Days of Action at the Capitol, we saw the community support wrap their arms around educators and say, we stand with you. So we're hopeful that the voters of Colorado are going to say that same thing this November and stand for students and public education here in Colorado to fund our schools.
And Amy, no shock here. Teachers Association, more money for schools. It's obvious you're going to support it. Do you have concerns about how it's structured and some of the issues we talked about to begin with? Or do you feel that it's on target and voters are going to give you what you want?
Well, one of the things that I think is actually really great about this amendment is that it's going to be structured at the local level. And so local communities are going to come together and say, this is what we need here in our community. And one community, that might look like, you know, more textbooks, more resources for mental health supports. In another community, that might be buildings or school safety. But the community, they know themselves best. And so they're going to come together with the school district, with the educators, and say, this is how we're going to use this money in our community. And I think voters will really resonate with that because it will be local, it will be meeting the need in that specific community.
So what you're saying here is by not earmarking it, by not saying one size fits all, that a community out in Elbert County might decide this is the best, and a community in the inner city of Denver may say a school district, this is the best, and that's the positive.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, our communities are very different. Whether you're on the western slope or the eastern plains or here in the Front Range, our schools have different needs. And so this is a real opportunity. Instead of saying this is what everybody gets, this is what everybody needs, it's that ability to say, here's the money that you're going to receive. Now come together and talk about how you're going to use that to better student success in your community.
And paying for it through corporations and individuals making more than $150,000 a year, that is a smaller voting segment. More people obviously fall below that. That has to be something that makes you say, it gives us a better chance.
I think it does. You know, 92% of Coloradans don't fall within that category that's going to be taxed. So, and I think those that are, our hope is that they will say, you know, we have a growing economy. We have one of the fastest growing economies in the country. We want to ensure that our school system is matching that. We're providing a world-class education to our students here in Colorado. So we're hopeful that voters will say, yes, our students here in Colorado deserve this. We as Coloradans deserve this so that our state can be the great state that it is.
So let's talk about numbers. Let's say for an individual watching that made $151,000, how much more would they be paying in their taxes?
Well, those numbers can, they get very specific. So there is a website that people can go to figure out the individual impact. But the bottom line is that this means more dollars for our struggling schools, our schools that have been underfunded, so that we can support our students and those students' needs, and again, in those individual communities.
Well, and it's really bigger than that, because as we talk about drawing the Amazons or major corporations, one of the markers they look for is funding for schools. And talk about that impact and the importance, because certainly we want to help kids in schools and schools to improve, but economically, a healthier education system means a healthier economy in our state, correct?
Absolutely. When our schools are doing well, our community and our economies are doing well. So when we can draw people into the state, so they're coming here not only because we're a beautiful state with lots of fun, wonderful outdoor things to do and great business opportunities, but because we have great quality schools. And so we need to make sure that our funding is matching what we want as Coloradans for our students. So in some communities, if student success, or if they look at test scores, well, we have to look at what is our funding that is getting the results that we're getting. So we know that in certain communities where we have a large achievement gap for our students of color, we want to make sure they have those supports and resources that they need. Smaller class sizes, more adults to be, meeting their needs in the classroom, more mental health supports, more supports for poverty, things like hunger and things that, students come into many of our schools without the things they need to be successful. If we want to be that great Colorado state where we're attracting people here, we need to address those things.
Strong points. In 10 seconds, we're running out of time. Will this also roll into teacher salaries? Can school districts decide we're going to increase salaries? Because that's always a key issue.
Absolutely, and this is something that we saw again in April in the Days of Action. We have educators who can't afford to work and live in the communities that they teach, so I believe that and I hope that school districts will also address that so that they can attract and retain quality educators for the students in their communities.
Amy, a pleasure to get your insight. Appreciate you joining us on Politics Unplugged on this Sunday.
Thank you.
Okay, we are just getting started. When we come back, George Brauchler on Politics Unplugged, the Republican candidate for Attorney General. Stay with us. We'll be right back.